What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay from Yankee and The Brit coming back at you. I want to talk about some Brett Favre. So I've been seeing all over the internet that people think that Brett Favre should be removed from the Hall of Fame. And I want to know what you guys think. So first off, Brett Favre has some legal issues going on right now with welfare fraud that happened during the lockdown, during the pandemic. This thing's been going on for a while. And yes, from everything I read, it's hugely scumbagish thing to do. But the question is, should that get Brett Favre removed from the Hall of Fame? And then I have to ask, so if we're going to remove Brett Favre from the Hall of Fame, are we going to remove all scumbags from the Hall of Fame or just Brett Favre? And I see that people keep saying, well, it's different between criminal and moral. Well, is it? Is this what we're starting to do? So the Hall of Fame's no longer being just judged on field performance? Because if that's the case, there's a list of dudes who need to be removed from the Hall of Fame if you're going to remove Brett Favre from the Hall of Fame for being a fucking scumbag. And I almost felt like I said Brett Favre so much that I was John Madden with the Brett Favre and Brett Favre. But anyway, so my question comes down to this. If we're going to start removing people from the Hall of Fame for criminal acts, well, then there's a lot of dudes. And moral becomes even more. So let's just touch on the moral, okay? What is your moral standing? Does being an awful teammate fall under morals? Because then T.O. out of the Hall of Fame instantly. Because he destroyed every locker room he was ever in. I don't think that should keep T.O. out of the Hall of Fame. Now you can go to criminal. Now this is a subject where opinions are really going to differ. I get that. But I just want you to think about this. So if we're going to remove Brett Favre from the Hall of Fame for being a scumbag and welfare fraud, then OJ's got to go, right? And I know people are going to go, OJ wasn't convicted. I'm not talking about the murder case. OJ was convicted of robbery and kidnapping. And you can use the argument he was stealing back shit that was his. One, that's false. A lot of that shit was sold because OJ owed money, so hence no longer his. But even if it was his, the second you arm yourself and refuse to allow people to leave, that is kidnapping. So therefore, OJ committed kidnapping. So he should be gone, right? Charles Haley, all kinds of arrests. Charles Haley should be out of the Hall of Fame then, correct? Michael Irvin's been arrested, so Michael Irvin should be out of the Hall of Fame. Lawrence Taylor is a sex offender who had sex with a minor while smoking crack. So think about this. Lawrence Taylor is having sex with a child while smoking crack in the Hall of Fame. And then by these same standards, then Adrian Peterson, because he broke the law by punishing his child, by hitting him with a switch or a stick or whatever you want to call it, should be no longer allowed to even get into the Hall of Fame, correct? So that's the question I have. At what base are we basing our moral standards on? And I'm not sure what just happened behind me, but excuse me for that. And then whose morals are we using? That's the question we have to ask too. Everybody's moral compass is different. So whose morals do we start using? And what becomes the guidelines for the Hall of Fame? I know the Hall of Fame itself says that it's on field. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's not a moral contest. It's not a criminal contest. It is just what happens between the lines on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays and sometimes Saturdays, but whatever. The fact is whose moral line are we using? And I'm not defending any of these people I just mentioned. So don't think that I'm up here defending Brett Favre or Lawrence Taylor or any of these guys. My question is, where does this come in? So as somebody like me who has a real problem with them taking Reggie Bush's Heisman, I watched Reggie Bush win the Heisman. So you're going to take it away from him, make zero sense because he took a house and a job for his family and some money, but you can now do that under NIL. So in that argument, shouldn't we give Reggie his trophy back? But where does the moral line come? And that's where I'm asking you guys. I'm not telling you what it should be. I'm asking you. So comment below. Should Brett Favre be removed from the Hall of Fame? And if Brett Favre is removed from the Hall of Fame, doesn't that mean that Lawrence Taylor, O.J. Simpson, depending where your morals go. TO, like we talked about, Adrian Peterson shouldn't be allowed in. So should these guys be removed? Or should we stick to the system that's at hand where morals has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame? It's all about what you did between the white lines. And then the thing is if we're going to go to a moral standard, then Brett Favre should have never got into the Hall of Fame because of the dick pics he sent, because he's married. So that's got to break some kind of moral rules, correct? Depending on whose morals, again, we're back to that. So what are we judging the Hall of Fame on? That's the kind of thing I don't understand is, so Brett Favre, they're asking him, they want him kicked out of the Hall of Fame because of the welfare scandal he's got going on for the welfare fraud in Mississippi during the pandemic. He took money he wasn't supposed to, or some shit like that, and didn't pay it back. And like I said, it's a complete scumbag thing to do, but where do we draw the line? That's a good question. That's what I'm asking. Now, are we doing a moral standard? Because like I said, Charles Haley rested a bunch of times. Now, do we give him a pass because we find out later on in life that he's got mental health issues? Because mental health awareness is a lot more now. Do we give Adrian Peterson a pass because he grew up with that kind of punishment for your children? Or is it a set line? And again, whose moral standards are we taking? OJ, kidnapping, robbery. Michael Irvin arrested for drugs. There you go. Exactly. Perfect timing, Shug. Yeah, Michael Irvin arrested for drugs. The list goes on and on. Lawrence Taylor had sex with a child while smoking crack. I'm not justifying any of these actions. The question is to all of you. Should we have moral standards when it comes to the Hall of Fame? Now, granted, I don't think so. I think it's what happens between the white lines. But that's the question I'm asking everybody, because I see these arguments online, and it's crazy to me that people are that upset about who's in the Hall of Fame and who's not. Personally, if Favre did some illegal shit, arrest his ass. Take him to court and deal with it there. They did it with Lawrence Taylor. I still think Lawrence Taylor is probably the greatest defensive player I've ever seen, and maybe even the greatest player ever. Now, I hate to admit this because of Maddie. Micah Parsons looks a lot like Lawrence Taylor, but he ain't there yet. We ain't getting him into the Hall of Fame yet. He's got some years to go. It's a lot of stuff. And then in this moral stuff, everybody's upset. And I some reason think it started with Kaepernick. Like, people really got in their feelings over the NFL with Kaepernick, and that's fine. You can feel whichever way you want on that subject. That's your right. But I think that people got way too sensitive on the fact that it's the Hall of Fame. We're not saying that they were good people. We're not saying that they were upstanding members of society. We're just saying, like, hey, these guys played this sport better than most we've ever seen. But let me know your thoughts. Like I said, whose morals do we use if we do go to a morals clause or something for the Hall of Fame? Do you really think we should kick people out and change history? Because like I said, I seen Reggie Bush win the Heisman, so taking it away from him makes no sense to me. So even if you take Favre out of the Hall of Fame, wouldn't they just be like, that's Brett Favre, the former Hall of Famer? I don't know. Tell me what you think below, but this has been crazy all online. So let me know. And Cap sold out the bag, so morally he would have to get booted from the Hall of Fame as well. Okay. And like, Cap will never make the Hall of Fame. That's not something we're worried about. But this moral clause. So then the question is, do we not let them play football if they can't make the Hall of Fame? I'm just not sure where the line is. And for me, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer, and you can be a scumbag, because two things can be true. Let me know what you guys think below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Maddie and I are going to come to you again Sunday before the games. So tune into the Yankee and the Brit and let us be your pregame show. All right, guys. One world, one love.